Hello everybody and welcome to the United Stand. I hope you're doing very well. Lots to talk about tonight. We'll be talking about Pogba, of course. So another little twist in relation to him. I mean, look, interesting about that. Also, Ighalo, quite an interesting angle on him as well. I want to talk a little bit about Marcus Rashford and a tweet that's been going out on about what I said a year ago and people out of context.com, this statement I made about Rashford a year ago that you cannot change your mind apparently, but that's the world we live in. And also we'll be talking about why I do believe Manchester United can get third place if they want it, and Leicester could be out the top four. But, you know, again, controversy, whatever. I really do believe it, and I'll explain why. So smash a like on video, subscribe if you're new, and remember, we're getting really close to 700,000 subscribers. Imagine if we did it before lockdown was over. All those idiots who say, oh, you just make money out of the club. Well, we've been doing content for 3 months with no football because we've got a community, and that's what the United Stand's all about. So subscribe and share, and it'd be great to hit 700,000 before football even comes back, wouldn't it? Anyway, let's fly straight into it. Paul Pogba, Manchester United, open to allowing Paul Pogba to leave Manchester United. Now, before I comment on that, let me tell you what the story is. It's coming from Calcio in Italy, and they're saying that Manchester United are open to a deal involving Adrien Rabiot, who obviously is a centre midfielder, mid-20s now. We did look at him last summer, and I'm not going to lie, we looked at him in quite an open way last summer, and we're like, yeah, we'd like to get him. He went to Juventus, he didn't come to Manchester United, we move on. It's not gone well for him at Juventus, and obviously Juventus would love Paul Pogba, and I think Juventus would be willing to give up quite a lot of their fringe, reserve, subs, some first-team players for Pogba, but it's about what's appealing to United. And apparently Rabiot is a deal that United would be interested in. However, it's not close to being done, and there's a feeling from Italy that Juventus will have to do a lot more than Rabiot, because Rabiot and Juventus's valuation is nowhere near what United's is. And look, I would hope that Juventus are not thinking, let's do a straight swap for Rabiot and Pogba, because that would be ludicrous. Rabiot's on quite good wages as well, rumoured to be around sort of €7 million or €7 million a year, £7 million a year, I don't know. He was a free agent, so his wages will be very big, and that might be something that United have a problem with, as well as paying an actual transfer fee for somebody who ultimately has flopped at Juventus. But I suppose it goes back to how interested United were in Rabiot last summer when he chose to go to Juventus, because it's not necessarily a player that's being dropped on United's or Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's toes. If it was a player that we'd looked at and wanted last summer, but he chose to go to Juventus, there may be still a bit of an appetite of United for that. But look, I mean, I read the article in Calcio and I read it via Manchester Evening News, and Manchester Evening News sometimes put a little comment on it themselves, and they've said that Manchester United are relaxed about the situation with Paul Pogba. Now, what does relaxed mean? Relaxed means that they may well be considering letting him go. You know, I would prefer to hear Manchester United are resolute that Paul Pogba won't leave. Relaxed about Paul Pogba's future just seems a little bit too sit back on a sun lounger with a gin and tonic and your sunglasses on, watching the world go by. No, we've got to get off that sun lounger and start doing lengths in the pool, because we want to win. We want to be number one. So I don't think we can be relaxed on Paul Pogba's future. I think being relaxed on Paul Pogba's future is probably more about appearing to be relaxed about his future and not getting involved in the mind games of maybe Amino Raiola or Juventus or Real Madrid. As I've said before, and I'm sure you're bored of hearing it, I've been told numerous times that Manchester United don't want and won't sell Pogba. And Solskjaer himself said it in March. So I'm still sort of clinging on to that we will see Paul Pogba in a Manchester United shirt next season, whenever that next season is. But I'm also concerned about what's changed with Paul Pogba from last summer when he wanted to go. But ultimately, it always comes down to the same thing. Do I think Rabiot is a player that United should be looking at? No, not really. But I'm not as adamant against it as I would be as a Douglas Costa, who's injury prone and a winger that we don't need, or Alexandro, who's getting old now and he's a left back we don't need anymore. At least Rabiot actually plays in the position that we do need to bring a player in, so I wouldn't be opposed to that. But what else can they give us that we actually need? We don't need a Bernardeschi, we don't need a Dybala, we don't need an Alexandro, and we don't need a Douglas Costa. What we need is a striker. Are you going to give us Ronaldo? Didn't think so. And we potentially do need another midfielder or a centre-back. Are you going to give us Bentancur, or are you going to give us Demirel, or are you going to give us De Ligt? Of course you're not, because they're good players you want to build around. So I think that Juventus, if they want to give us Rabiot, they're going to have to give us about 70 million quid as well. Thanks to the contribution, and up James. And do you think Pogba will play well with Bruno, says Ben Shard? Well, this is the thing. I mean, look, I've got to be honest. There's nothing I would want more at the moment. And look, opinions change. Of course they do. What's the point if your opinion's not going to change? You could walk outside your house every day, look across at the road in front of you. They've got a green door and it makes you want to throw up. And you say that all the time. And then one day you walk out and they've got a lovely red door. And you go, you know what, that looks nice. I like it now. I will talk to you when you say good morning and I won't snub you. Because that's an opinion that's been changed by something that's progressive. So people struggle with people changing opinions, which I'll talk about with Rashford in a minute. But the point is, last summer when it came out that Pogba wanted to go, I'm sure there are videos of me, and there's definitely comments of you, saying, if you don't want to be at this club, get out, sell him. And I even said United made a mistake keeping Pogba because they forced a player to stay who didn't want to be here and then got injured for most of the season. That's stupidity. That is stupidity. You can analyse that however much you like, and I'm sure there's a very good analogy there, isn't there? But, it's true. It's absolutely true. It's like being in a relationship with somebody, isn't it? And your wife's gorgeous or your boyfriend's gorgeous, and you've got loads of, you work in a high-powered job and you've got loads and loads of events coming up and dinner parties for your business. So you want your beautiful wife or boyfriend next to you. And you basically say, she wants a divorce, and you say to her, you're not having a divorce till next year because I need you to come to all these events. Well, I don't want to. Well, I'm not giving you a divorce till next year unless you stay for another year. Fine, I'll stay for another year. Comes to your first event, I don't feel very well. I'm not going. Oh, I've got to go on my own anyway then. We're still married, but you're never there. So this is what United did with Pogba. I think it was a stupid decision. However, time changes things. Last summer, I think we should have sold him. I do. I think it was a mistake not to sell him because we might have got Bruno last summer. But where we are now, despite Pogba not playing any games, I still feel that I've always had this mentality that if you can get the best out of something that other people want, why would you want to sell it if you can get the best out of it? And I think with Paul Pogba, if we could get a happy, settled Paul Pogba, there's not many better players than him. I totally respect and understand why some people say sell him. He's, it's disruptive. It's not great listening to he wants to leave all the time. And I get all of that. But if I could have what I wanted right now, it would be Paul Pogba signing a 3-year contract and happily staying at United for the next 3 years. Because I think, well, yeah, that's a problem we haven't got to solve now. Maybe we could go and get the centre-back. So that's what I would like to see with Pogba. It's a little bit different from where I was a year ago, but ultimately I just think he is a good player. And if he wanted... The problem is I don't know whether he wants to be here, and I think we're all like that. Should we get a new left-back? What priority should it be, says Suki. For me, it's way down. It's probably priority 6, which is too many for this summer. If not Sancho, who's your number 1 option for right wing? Says, I'm not going to read your name. I'm just going to call you Ice because I'm not going to read your second name because it's disgusting. I've been asked that question so many times about backup players for Jadon Sancho, and the point is, I'm just going to say this, there's plenty of names we could throw out there, such as Traore, Zaha, Leon Bailey. There's loads of players, but the point is, I think if you don't get Sancho, it's a massive step down. What do you think of Sergej Milinkovic-Savic as a replacement for Pogba? Shit! We wanted him as before, and he's a strong midfield player. That's your fault, Lee Rash David. That's your fault, me reading your super chat, and now I've knocked my bloody light over. Right, I'm going to have to go and get it now. I hope you're proud of yourself. I'm only winding you up. It's not, it's my fault. I kicked it with my foot. Milinkovic-Savic won't be coming to Manchester United. He has been linked to PSG, but he's not going to be coming to Manchester United, so we don't need to worry about that too much. I think he's a good player, but I don't think we'd even look at him as a Paul Pogba replacement, to be honest with you. So there you go. Lee Rash for the little clanger there. I'm sure it'll end up as a little bit of a clip somewhere, but there you go. I had to go and put my light back up. It was too dark. I've got like a circle light in front of me that just gives it a little bit more light head on. Gonbridge, says Xander Horge. Milinkovic-Savic, I don't know. Just quickly, there's a few things I want to get into tonight. So we've spoken about Pogba there. Smash a like on the video, please, and subscribe to the channel if you're new. We're trying to get up to 700,000 subscribers. So please, over the next few shows, we always do this as we get towards the next 100,000. If you are a regular viewer, just every time you're watching, please click the share button, share it on your socials, Twitter and Facebook. And if you are new, subscribe. we're going for it. We're going for 700k, so let's do it as a community. I don't want Rabiot. He flopped at Juve and he rejected us, says Jacob Alasson. Nothing more to say to that. Can't really disagree with it. No positive tests in the 4th round of Premier League testing, says Eugene. Well, that's quite good breaking news. Let me just double check on that. What I would say is that the UK government have said that from Monday you can play professional sport behind closed doors. So I'm quite excited because there's a bit of snooker coming back, which is great. Here we go then. So David Ornstein, breaking positive results from 1,130 samples in round 4 of the Premier League COVID testing. 4 positive, 3 clubs. Let me just do that. Yeah, so that's very good news, and that is clarified there. It's from David Ornstein that there have been no positive tests in round 4 of the Premier League testing. Thank you to Sean from Ireland, the latest member of the United Stand Members Club. So that's very positive. For anybody who doesn't know what that means, all the Premier League players and staff are now being tested. They've been tested 4 times now. In the first 3, there was a handful of people who tested positive. In this round, total negative of over 1,100 people, which is some effort. And I've got to applaud all Premier League clubs, all players, and everybody involved. That is some effort to do that. And it's their actions and their sensible actions of social distancing and doing it properly that has given us an opportunity to have this summer festival of football that we really want to see. Welcome, Vink, the latest member of the United Stand Members Club. I just want to say about the Members Club as well. Just reminded me, some very exciting things coming for the United Stand Members Club over the next couple of weeks. So thanks everyone who's joining. It's not been forgotten, and really appreciate it. Do you think we should get Van der Beek as Pogba replacement, says Mr. Beek? Well, if his FIFA career mode is anything to go around, he's been very good. But he's a consideration. Van der Beek's a consideration. Some people think Saul Niguez is a consideration. I think we will see Paul Pogba here next year, but I think my fear is that we'll see Paul Pogba here not signing a new contract, and then all next season we'll just be hearing that he's leaving in the summer, which to me is not very constructive to building a new future, is it? So positive news about the Premier League and positive news about no positive tests. That's good in round 4. That's going to bring... I want to talk about the Premier League in a minute, but let me just talk about 2 things. Ighalo, I read something today on Goal that Manchester United may look to extend Ighalo's loan deal by 6 months, taking him to January. Now this to me is a silly thing to do. It's a halfway house that would leave us without a striker for the second half of the season next year, and would stop us buying a striker this summer. It's one of the weirdest halfway house deals I've ever heard. We need him for the next 9 games, then send him back to China or buy him. Don't keep him for 6 months so that we don't buy a striker in the summer and then in January he disappears back to China anyway. That's a halfway house. I'm hoping that story is an absolute load of nonsense. We will be hearing in the next 24 hours what's going to happen with Ighalo. I do suspect and hope that he will be staying for the final 9 games of the season, because I think it's going to be very important that he does. But I don't want him to sign a 6-month loan deal. I think that's just ridiculous, because that will stop us. We won't sign a Dembele or a Werner or anyone else then. We'll be like, well, we've got Ighalo for 6 months, and then in January he goes. I don't see Ighalo as a long-term option for United. I think we've got to go and buy a striker, and I hope that we go and do that. United need to include Lingard in any potential deal for Pogba. This will scare them all off, says Cena. Yeah, you don't get Pogba unless you take Lingard. What do you think happens if player is positive after the league has restarted, says Mateen? Well, I think that is a realistic option that will happen. Welcome to Wesley Gomez, latest member of the United Stand Members Club. Thank you everyone who's joining tonight. And thanks to everyone who's sharing the video and subscribing on that road to 700k. Evening Red, says Chief Leaf Gamer. Tonali for Pogba replacement, good in career mode, says Sukazaki. And you think we can challenge for title after Sancho, says AMR. I think winning a title next year is unrealistic, but I think that Sancho will improve us, and that's what we've got to look at improving. Tonali for Pogba will never happen, because the club that Tonali plays for just would not have the funds to play for Paul Pogba, and he wouldn't want to go to that club either. So that wouldn't happen. And Jibs says, how would you manage Rashford and Pogba in the first game and Spurs and going forward? Would it be more balanced to see them in for a strong finish? Would it be more beneficial to ease them in for a strong finish? That's from Jibs. Well, I'm glad you mentioned Rashford, because I want to mention this now. I mean, look, We will be talking about that Spurs game over the next couple of weeks as it gets closer and closer with previews. It's very exciting, but I'm not necessarily... I think Rashford's got to come into the team because that left-hand side is his. I'm not so sure that Pogba walks into the team. He's missed all season. And really, is it fair to dislodge Matic or Fred? I mean, we can't even get McTominay in the team potentially. So whatever Ollie does, it's going to be quite brave. Will he just go sod what Matic and Fred have been doing for me? It's going to be Pogba, McTominay and Bruno. He might do that. Or will he actually be loyal and say, Fred and Matic have done nothing wrong. I can't drop you. Pogba and McTominay are on the bench. And I don't know which way Ollie will go with that, but it will be his decision. It will be a big decision. Joy says, when Ighalo leaves, don't you think we should look for this type of striker, considering Werner's playstyle is almost the same like Martial's? Well, Joy, I mean, what I would say to that is that Ollie seems to be looking for a different type of striker, but why do we need a different type of striker? Have Liverpool got a tall player that comes on in the last 10 minutes when they're chasing a game? Have Man City got a tall player? Or do Man City have the same type of players like Jesus, Aguero, Sterling, Sane, Silva, De Bruyne, all very technically good players who are, quick on the ball and can get a shot off? No, they have all the same players. Firmino and Salah and Mane, what's their replacement for them? Origi's something a little bit different, but I think they would like Werner because he's like all those. I don't agree that you need different things now. I think that what you need is, if Martial's not playing well, you bring a different player on who can try and do it as well. I don't think football is in that. I don't think football works like that now. Oh, we need to bring a big man on because they're dealing with everything on the ground. You change the player. So I would like Werner because he could come on and play where Rashford plays. He could come on and play where Sancho plays. Or he could start where Martial plays. So I would prefer to have somebody... I think familiarity is the thing that breeds success. Play the way you want to play. Don't have a plan B option, because what if you take Martial off for a Raul Jimenez with 20 minutes to go, and then suddenly if you kept Martial on or kept playing that same way of playing, you might have created that chance for Martial that he would have scored, where you go route one and suddenly the flow stops. So I'd rather we just had different options that fit into the way that we play rather than a different striker to play a different way. But, some people would disagree with that. Rashford, right, okay. I basically put a tweet out today, and sometimes you tweet something and it bangs, and I'm talking relative bangs here. I mean, you will all do it if you're on Twitter or social media. A bang to you might be 10 retweets, it might be 100 retweets, whatever. But I put a tweet out today, and I basically said, I've come to terms with the fact that Liverpool are going to win the Premier League. I don't like it, but they deserve it. But what I can't come to terms is with Jordan Henderson winning Premier League Player of the Year when he's not even in the top 10. And it did well. And a lot of people agreed with me, and a lot of people didn't agree with me. And it led to, obviously, people go looking through your previous tweets to try and undermine you. And somebody found a tweet that I don't delete my tweets because I think I can always justify them. I know a lot of people who delete all their tweets every month because they don't want people to go, look at what you said 8 months ago and now you're saying something different. You're an idiot. But no, it isn't, is it? Because it's like the old green door again. If somebody across the road's got that green door and it makes you throw up every day, and then one day it's a red door and it looks nice, your opinion's just changed on the people who live there. And that can change. Of course it can change. Opinions can change. We live in a world where opinions change. Your opinions change. Bloody hell, we've got a government in this country because people who voted for a different party suddenly changed their mind for different reasons. People change their mind. It's the world we live in. Everyone's got a right to change their opinion based on the facts in front of them. So, a year ago, there was a rumour that Rashford was going to leave Manchester United because they weren't doing very well. So I tweeted, and I was probably in a bad mood at the time. I tweeted something along the lines of, if he wants to go, let him go. He's playing like a championship player anyway, so we don't need him. Very harsh. And I looked at it and I read it today and I was like, bloody hell, that's a bit harsh. But then I looked at it and it was from like May 2019. And I thought, you know what? Let's add a bit of context here. Because what they basically said is, I tweeted a few weeks ago that I think on his day, Rashford is as effective as Neymar or Mbappe. And I look at the stats this year off the left wing. Rashford's been brilliant. Absolutely top class. And I meant it. I think on his day, when Rashford was playing well off that left-hand side, he is as impactive as a Neymar or as an Mbappe. I said he was one of the best left wingers in Europe. So of course I've got to put him on that pedestal. So I've got that tweet saying that on his day he's as good as Mbappe or Neymar when he's playing off that left wing. So some prat's gone, there's that tweet and there's the one from May. Ah, what a hypocrite. And I thought, this is now what some areas of football analysis is. This is the sensational, shallower than a worm's grave crap. Because where's the context? Where is the context for you to try and ridicule me about my opinion from Rashford in May, where it's very harsh, to now, a year later, saying he's brilliant? Because let's look at that context. I said a year ago, after the Cardiff game when we lost, sell the whole effing team. They're a disgrace to the shirt and they need to go, every single one of them. And a lot of people said that. And I included Martial, one of my favourite players. I thought United ended the season last season from April to May disgusting. They didn't deserve to wear the shirts. Even Ollie said it. They were an absolute disgrace. And I love Rashford and I love Martial and I love a lot of those players. But they were a shame to that shirt last season. They were awful at the end of the season. And I include Martial in that, who everybody knows is my favourite player. So that tweet I said about Rashford would have been right in the midst of that. So I don't apologise for it. At the start of the season, I thought Rashford was poor when he played up front. And a lot of people were calling him Trashford, which I said was unfair, but I said he was poor. But the minute he went to that left wing, everybody saw what the real Rashford is. And everybody saw that this is a player that can be top class. So you tell me, who is the hypocrite? Who is the liar? Who is the flip-flop when I stand by what I said about Martial and Rashford last May? They were absolutely awful. And I think that Marcus Rashford's taken a long, hard look at himself because he's a professional footballer and he's done something about that. And that green door that was repulsive is now a beautiful red door that we all want to walk through. And that's a change in opinion based on the work ethic and improvement of that player, which has been stunningly effective and brilliant over the last 12 months. So these people who try and say, oh, look what you said 12 months ago. Come on. Like, opinions change because things change. And I think the Rashford involvement over the last 12 months has been fantastic. And I think that any fan or even Marcus Rashford himself, if he took that to heart, what people were saying about him at the start of the season in May, well, I'm good, because he should use it as a motivation to now get the plaudits that he deserves. And any player that's being criticised, Matic has been in this situation as well. The criticism is valid. But I'll tell you what, especially with United fans, if you turn it around, nobody's going to keep sitting there with a grudge going, nah, I'm not accepting that he's just put in a man of the match performance. I can't stand him, he's crap. That's a grudge. That's not what United fans do. United fans will criticise when players are not doing what they should be doing. And they weren't last year. And some of them weren't doing it this season. But there's a massive amount of improvement in the last 6 months. I think they're looking to extend the loan deal till January because they want Haaland next summer, possibly cheap if there is no fans in the stands, says Sean from Ireland. It's like a courtroom. You don't find someone guilty with new evidence that proves innocence, says David Bjornsson. And people can change their opinion of anything they want. If a player is in terrible form, it's up to the player to prove the doubters wrong. I agree. And hey, Mark, I'm positive that we would do well when the league restarts, but what if we do horribly bad? What does that mean for Ollie? I'm hearing some rumblings about Allegri again. Hashtag Ollie out. Ooh, Adams. Controversial. We've got nearly 3,000 watching. Please smash a like on video and subscribe if you're new. We're on that road to 700k. And Stephen Diak says, Lingard hasn't improved since last season. He should be moved on, saying today, I've not put 100% in yet because you care more about your brand. Has he said that today? I didn't know he said that. I don't want Allegri at the club anyway. I've been very clear that I don't want Allegri at the club, even if Ollie's not at the club. But I like what you're saying about the Premier League there. I did a video with AFTV today with Robbie. We were talking about, I think it goes up at 9 o'clock or something tonight, actually. So it won't be out there yet, so I can talk first. So I will say what I said on there, that I believe Manchester United are going to have a really good end to the season and get top 4. And I would be massively disappointed if we didn't, because it's there for us to grasp. But on the other hand, we must also take into account that we are still on course for our worst ever Premier League total. 64 points by David Moyes is our worst Premier League total in 30 years. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer needs to get 19 points from the next 27 to get... Well, he needs to get 20 points. He's got to get 20 points from 27 to not have the worst ever Premier League points total. So we can all be full of enthusiasm and hope, and I think we all are, and that's a good thing. But we must also not forget that this is a shit season. And it's only Bruno's arrival that's sort of given us a chance to rescue it. And it's only because Chelsea have lost 10 games in 4th place that we've got an opportunity to get 4th. This is going to be the lowest ever points total for 4th place in Premier League history, I think. It is ridiculously low. You could get 4th place with 62 points, which would be our worst ever Premier League total. But it would get us 4th place. 72 points, 73 points is normally 4th place, so it's not going to be anywhere near that. And we couldn't get that anyway. We can't get that unless we won every single game. No, we couldn't do that. We can only get 72 points if we win every single game. So that shows you that we shouldn't be getting 4th this year. But that's not our problem. That's everybody else's as well. But I do think we will have momentum. And I look at Leicester, who are 8 points ahead of us, and I look at Chelsea, who are 3 points ahead of us, and I look at the fixtures, and I think, well, look, we're playing Leicester, so forget that 8 points. We would have to beat them, so that's 5 points. So I see it as we're 5 points behind Leicester, and we're 3 points behind Spurs, 3 points behind Chelsea, because we've got to beat Leicester. So you may as well assume that we have. So we're 5 points behind Leicester, we're 3 points behind Chelsea, and when you look at the fixtures, our hardest fixtures are Spurs away, which is tough, Leicester away, which we have to win, and Sheffield United, who I think we'll beat in a neutral ground or in a ground without fans, because I think that's part of their thing. That's our hardest games. Chelsea's hardest games are they've got to play City, very tough. They've got to play Liverpool, tough. They've got to play Sheffield United like us, and they've got to play Wolves. So that's 4 tough games for Chelsea compared to probably 2 for us. So that we should be able to get back at them. Even if we lose to Spurs, I still think that they will drop the points for to allow us back in. So we would have to collapse terribly not to get 4th. And I can't see that happening. However, Leicester, who are 8 points ahead of us, if we beat them 5 points, they've got to play Watford. They've got to play Everton. They've got to play Arsenal. They've got to play Spurs. And they've got to play Sheffield United. I think Leicester have got to come back and play brilliantly, or we'll reel them in. And I think we can reel them in. I think we can finish 3rd. I really do. And I think people are looking at that 8-point gap and saying, oh, you can't close 8 points in 9 games. Well, we're playing them 5 points. And they've got harder games than us. So I definitely think that we can. I'm also realistic. I'm really realistic that I do think that we could lose games. We've lost to Bournemouth. We've lost to Watford. We've lost to Newcastle. We've lost to Arsenal. We've lost to crap this season. And we can do it again. But I think we've learned from that. And I think we've also got Bruno, and we've got Rashford, and we've got Pogba, and we've got people who are now playing a lot better than they were before. And I think there's a camaraderie, and I think there's a strong mentality. And I think we should go into this confident. And more importantly, I think Ollie and the players need to go into this confident. The only thing that's going to let us down is if Pogba comes back and his head's not really at it, and I think he's too professional to let that happen. If Rashford comes back and has a relapse, and I think he's actually benefited from the gap, so I think he won't. Injuries shouldn't be too much of a problem because we've got such a big squad and the fixtures are there, they're all winnable. So I think United can get 3rd, but I certainly think we can get 4th. Love your work, man. Thanks for inspiration, says United. And Drew Hansen says, hi Mark, we are stuck between a rock and a hard place. We're going to either spend big money to get the Sanchos, Werners, etc. of the world. However, if we spend what is convenient and easily accessible, King and Grealish, we won't make the grade. I agree with you, Drew. I really do. And would you sack Ollie if he doesn't achieve Champions League? If so, who would be the ideal replacement, says Thierry Mainrick? I don't think United will sack Solskjaer if we don't get top 4, but I do actually think that the serious questions should be asked, because this is one of the worst Premier League seasons we've ever seen. It's a massively low points total to get top 4, and if we don't do it, that's a failure. It is. But I think the club would give him another chance. Whether that's right or wrong, we'll have to see over the next 9 games. But I don't think we'll be having that chat. I don't. I think he'll get top 4 and then, yeah, definitely stays next season. Get Sancho in. Let's build. And I think what's also very interesting about this... I'm getting myself excited here. I'm going off on a bit of a tangent. I'm sorry. And as Callen says, 5th place could get you Champions League football. But we shouldn't be taking that risk, Callen. We should not take that risk. We should not be getting 5th place. We shouldn't be getting 5th. We should be getting 3rd or 4th. And if we don't get that, I think... it's get out of jail card, isn't it? 5th, because we shouldn't be getting that. 4th is there to grab. This is why a lot of Chelsea fans were worried about the season coming back, because they know we've got momentum, and Leicester will get nervous, I think. So it's there to be grabbed. And what is also in our favour as well, as much as like Pereira and Lingard and Jones and other fringe players have irritated this season with their bad form, they are still a certain level of player who's paid a certain wage and considered experienced Premier League players. Now, you're playing 9 games in 6 weeks. You're basically playing a game every 4 days. For Manchester United, it would be impossible for us to play our strongest team every 4 days. We will have to rotate. We will have to bring players in. Greenwood will have to start. Dan James will have to start. McTominay will have to start. Brandon Williams, Delo. We will have to rotate. We will have to do that. And it will weaken us. But can Bournemouth rotate their team? Well, they'll have to. But have they got quality players that we've got? Like, have they got people like Delo who can come in, Brandon Williams who can come in, Mason Greenwood who can come in, even a Pereira or a Lingard, and you can think what you like about them, but Bournemouth don't have that depth to do that. So, and that goes back to Leicester as well. Leicester have done very well this season, playing 1 game a week. They're not in Europe. So they rest. They've got all week to focus on their next game, whereas and everyone else in the top 6 might be playing their Premier League game. Then we might be playing a Europa League or Champions League, then a Premier League game. Well, suddenly Leicester don't have that advantage. Leicester will be playing every 4 days like us. I'm telling you now. I can't promise it, but I'm telling you now. We can finish 3rd place, and I'm very, very, very confident about it. And I'll get ridiculed about it. I do. People on Twitter say you're having a laugh. You ain't closing an 8-point gap on Leicester. Look at the facts. We've got to play Leicester. That takes it down to 5 points straight away. And they've got Watford away, Everton away, Arsenal away, Spurs away, us and Sheffield United. They're their tough 6 games. For us, I think we've got 2 tough games. Spurs and Leicester. Well, we'll have to beat Leicester anyway. And I think we can win the rest of our games. So I think it's doable. I really do. Do you see Ollie playing Bruno and Pogba 9 games running? Would Pogba play the box-to-box role with Bruno advance role? Who would be the best suited in the CDM, says Jibs. I think Bruno will play every game he can play. I think Rashford, Pogba, Sane, Harry Kane, Bergwijn, Son, every player that was injured for quite some time before the season went down on lockdown, can they come straight back into the team? I don't know, is the honest answer, because I don't know how... Will Rashford, who's not played it since January, be rustier than Martial, who's not played since March? It's still 3 months for Martial. So I don't know how that will work. I'm a little bit concerned that maybe Rashford and Pogba will need to be eased into the team. But then I think, well, all right, Pogba hasn't played since Christmas, but Bruno hasn't played since March. Who's going to be more rustier? I don't know. It's going to be very... I think the physical side of it and the fitness side of it is massive. And looking at United players, they all look fit. I've been watching some of the training stuff. We look fit. Liverpool look very fit as well. I don't know what the other Premier League clubs look like, but I have been watching the Bundesliga, and some of them teams are not as fit as others, and the teams that are fitter have been winning the games. Which reminds me, I'm doing a watch-along tomorrow for the Dortmund game, because I think Sancho will be starting. It's a 5 o'clock kickoff on Mark Goldbridge. That's football. Okay. Mate, Mark, rate Moussa Dembele out of 10, says Vashnav. Well, if I said to you that Anthony Martial's 9 out of 10, and if I said to you that Aguero's 10 out of 10, and I said to you that Firmino is probably the same as a Martial, sort of a 9, 8 out of 10, and Harry Kane's a 9 out of 10, I would put Moussa Dembele at 7. He could be an 8 or 9, but he plays in the French league, and I don't know enough about him, and I don't think he's a Harry Kane. Definitely don't think he's an Aguero, and I don't think he's a Martial. But I think he could be a sort of a Lacazette, that next tier down. Arsenal fans will hate that, but look, I watch Martial every week. I've seen bits of Lacazette. I don't think Lacazette is anywhere near the level of Martial this season, but people judge Martial when they don't watch him. We watch Martial, we know his quality, we know the hard work he's put in this season, we know how he runs the channels, holds the ball up, brings others into play, scores goals like a goal scorer. So yeah, I think Moussa Dembele would be decent, but I don't think he'd come in and be our star striker, whereas I think Werner would be different. Anyway, I'm back in the morning with another live Man United news and transfer news show. Sunday morning is always quite interesting because you get the Sunday papers talking. And I'm thinking we're going to hear about Ighalo at some point. So we'll wait and see what happens with that. But I'm positive. I'm happy. Smash a like on the video. No positive tests out of all the Premier League players tested in round 4. This is a big thumbs up. We need to keep this going and we will get our football back. And also, more importantly, we will get less people infected and less people will die from this horrible virus. It's a film night for me tonight. I'm going to watch Ford versus Ferrari. I'm going to watch Ford versus Ferrari. There we go. All the Fs. Please subscribe if you're new. Please share the video if you have subscribed and smash a like on the video. We're on that road to 700k. Thanks everyone for watching. I hope you have a good Saturday night and I will see you in the morning. And tomorrow night we will have Ricky, Adam and Saeed on Sunday Night Football. Looking a bit ahead. We're going to talk a bit more about the Premier League because football's coming back and that's what we want to do. Speak to you all soon. Thank you very much. Have a great evening.